We're live, everybody. Excited to give our picks for the NFC and AFC Championship round. Who is going to the Super Bowl? We got spoilers coming up. Good morning to the MJT Football YouTube channel subscribers and non-subscribers. And if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Hit subscribe, like the video, turn on notifications, help us out. I'm joined by my co-hosts Tony Tucker, Joe Morley, the J and the T and the MJT. How you guys doing? Tony, go ahead. Let these beautiful people know why you're wearing that beautiful white sweater to pick the Bengals, right?
It's clean. It's pristine. I'm finally feeling excited as a football fan to watch. Last weekend was brutal. It was hard for me to enjoy the games. Like, I sat there and hate watched all last weekend, but I've recovered, and I am fully prepared to back the Chargers to the Super Bowl next year. So which means I can watch this weekend with excitement and joy just for watching young people go out and live their best life and entertain the shit out of me playing football.
Joe?
Yeah, what he said.
Zero's in the house. Phil K's in the house. Got a bunch of Cowboys fans here to watch us pick this round without the Cowboys.
Yeah, let's go. We get a "Let's Go McCarthy" chant and "Let's Go Dan Quinn" and Jerry Jones chat in there. Come on.
Did you see McCarthy was told by Jerry Jones that he was going to be he could be the head coach as long as Tom Landry, and I thought that was pretty funny because didn't Jerry Jones come in and fire Tom Landry?
That was the joke that Eric Mangini made. He goes, I don't know if he meant he wants him to be as long as he was the coach of the Cowboys or as long as he was the coach of the Cowboys for Jerry Jones. I thought that was a well-timed joke.
He could go either way with it. Anyways, let's talk about the last week's games. Any thoughts on any of the games last week? I'm sure there's a lot to talk about. You guys can let us know your thoughts in the chat as well. If there's any specific topics you guys want us to talk about. Let's talk about the Cowboys 49ers first. Cowboys offense comes out and puts out a stinker. So you guys go ahead and give the weekly Dak rants, and we'll move on to the next game.
I have no weekly Dak rant. I'd like to clarify something about Dak Prescott. It's what I've always said, is that he's a good quarterback. You are going to win games, but if you need him to win the game, I'm not going to bet on that to happen. But it doesn't mean he can't win the game. What's wrong with Cowboys fans heaping this expectation on Dak Prescott as if somehow they thought that they had Tom Brady? It's not. It was never going to be this magical run to the Super Bowl where Dak all of a sudden had this illustrious mistake-free run to the Super Bowl. And what really crushed the Cowboys, because they had a chance to win that game, the defense played well enough, was the Tony Pollard injury. Like, Tony Pollard going out, it hurt everything that offense could do, because they know for a fact, just like everybody else, that Zeke can't get it done to really gash you. Zeke might still be able to get an 8 or 9 yard run, but he's not going to hit a home run like Tony Pollard is. Like, it would have to be a full-on busted play or the best blocked play ever for Zeke to hit a home run at this point in his career. And when Tony Pollard was gone, the Cowboys offense just got the clamps put on.
Joe, anything to add?
I loved it. I loved watching the Dallas Cowboys go down. We talked about it all year that no matter what the record is, the Cowboys weren't going to make it, and it just showed. And Dak is a good quarterback. He just needs great wide receiver, a good offensive line, good running back, and a good defense to win. But Cowboy fans are overreacting just a little bit. You've seen like Skip Bayless throw jerseys away. You've seen them burning Dak stuff. A lot of Cowboy fans are throwing Dak under the bus, and even their whole own organization threw Dak under the bus in a Twitter. And I think it's wrong to just blame it all on Dak. But I love watching anything that makes Dallas Cowboy fans cry, so I'm good for it.
You're here for the combustion of Dallas. Yeah, the game kind of went how I expected it to. I told everyone, they're like, they just beat up the Tampa Bay defense, and I kept telling them, the San Fran defense is not the Tampa Bay defense. We are not talking about the same defense here. This is the next level, and Dak Prescott's little bit inconsistent, and I think Cowboys fans realize that now. And that's probably what they're most frustrated is that they see, a great performance against a weaker opponent, strength of opponent goes up, and all of a sudden, Dak looks horrible out there. He threw 2 picks, I believe. Did they have a touchdown? Or was it all field goals? 19-12, right?
No, they scored a touchdown.
It's an extra point. Got blocked,
they got a block extra point. And really, if he doesn't throw that interception when they're going into the red zone, it's also a different game because the defense is right there. But you have to have a little bit of consistency with what Dak can do. And if you take away the run game, now you're expecting Dak to drop back 25, 30 times for the rest of that game and go win it. It's just not going to happen. All of the success in the first game was predicated on them being able to fake the ball to Tony Pollard or Zeke or whatever, and then get Dak out on the edges and make some plays. But if he's just going to drop back and have to read, I forget who it was, but somebody put up a clip of him where it's an easy read to the outside. The coverage is allowing you to have sort of an outside throw, the leverage, everything points that way. And he throws it inside. And it's like an easy interception. It's like, come on, Dak. You can't make that. You can't make that throw right there. You're killing everybody with that.
I just didn't like the Dallas Cowboy offensive game plan the whole game, even before Tony Pollard went down. I just thought there was they could have attacked the 49ers a little bit quicker and shorter, but it is what it is. I that's why I said last week I didn't want to go for the Niners. I went for the Cowboys, but I was doing it because I didn't care who won that game, who lost that game. Either way, I was going to be happy at the end of the game. But to blame it all on Dak is ridiculous. Some of these guys are crazy.
I like the feuds that are happening happen within the MJT chat. It's always fun to me. I've never seen Reaper, but he's here for blood on Harry.
Yeah. Let us know your guys' thoughts on this game. San Francisco obviously advanced, and they're going to be playing the Eagles today. And we're going to talk about that game here in a minute. What other losers should we talk about? The Jaguars lost. Wasn't really a surprise. They seem kind of outmatched in that game. Anything to add to that?
Just see how big that Patrick Mahomes injury is. That's it. That's the main thing.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I recognize. He said it. Mike knows me. I recognize the name.
Mike knows everybody. But I just, you know what, Mike? First of all, stop. Let's just address this before we move on. You're the biggest Dak gobbler I know. So don't come in here going Dak beat up with the Tampa Bay and then had to play a tough team. Go ahead and take that L with that Dak.
Take what L?
You
love Dak. Your best 2 quarterbacks, Herbert and Dak, are now out of the playoffs.
That sucks. What do you want me to say? What?
I just want you to wipe your chin and just be like, I'm sorry that I picked.
I came on here and I looked back at the last year at all the bad Joe Murley takes. I could probably make a 20-minute compilation reel. All right. I don't want to hear let's go back and make sure Mike takes his L's on the chin. All right.
First of all, I never have a bad take.
Exactly. What about Bills getting eliminated?
Reaper makes a good point, because I do think the Jags had a chance to win this game if Agnew doesn't fumble that football right there. Where this is another thing where I think that you learn, and we see this with Burrow, with Mahomes, with everybody. When it gets into crunch time, you don't go to gadget players. You throw that ball away, or you go to the guys that you know are right there, unless it's a complete layup to Agnew, and he's already in there. Because you're not putting that ball into the hands of a guy who gets it and is like, I'm going to make a play. I'm going to be a hero. And it's like, no, there's a reason that you're not a player and a hero on this team. You're a special teams guy who's getting some offensive reps, and you can't give the ball to him in that situation. We've seen it too many times where bad things happen.
Yeah, and they still needed to come back, and it still was a mountain to climb. But you saw the momentum starting to kick in on the Jags offense, and I think they got a little bit more settled into that game at the end there. Hopefully next year they can come into every game just settled in like that, and they don't have to force themselves to try and make miraculous comebacks week after week after week. But, Joe, also, I just remember while Tony was talking, I picked the Niners to win the game. Didn't you pick the Cowboys? Take your L. How about that? Put yourself in the solo.
I already did. I already told you why I picked the Cowboys. I had to pick one of the 2 teams. I hate the 49ers more than I hate the Cowboys, so I went with the Cowboys.
All right, let's talk about the Bills. Let's talk about the Bills for a second. throw all the conspiracies aside. NFL's rigged, whatever you want to say about it. Because if the NFL is rigged, they probably would have rigged it for the Bills to go all the way to the Super Bowl if there was any storyline to follow. The Bills fall flat on their face at home in the snow, the weather they want, against Burrow and the Bengals. We're going to talk about the Bengals because they obviously advanced and are playing the Chiefs. But as far as the Bills go, Tony, thoughts on this? How can this team improve going into next year other than just having a healthy Von Miller?
What up, Joker? How you doing? Bolt up. The Bills are in a lot of trouble. And you saw I don't know if you guys saw it, but I saw the press conference where Brandon Beane was basically like panicking up there and being like, well, we don't want to suck. That's what we don't want Jamar Chases on our team because bad news. The Von Miller signing, it doesn't get better. It doesn't get like, oh, there's a better chance for him to stay healthier next year because he just suffered a knee injury at 33. And like, you really need him. And one of the things that we talked about last week for the Bills was like Ed Oliver needs to live up to first round production level because we're seeing a lot of these D tackles really have a chance to be huge impact players on these teams that are throwing the ball 40 times a game. We're seeing Dexter Lawrence and Quinnen Williams and Chris Jones likely this weekend. These guys are wreaking havoc in the center of the defense. They're making muddy pockets. I kept waiting for Ed Oliver to have that moment, and it just didn't happen. And I think he's a really good player. But the Bills, Josh Allen's cap hit jumps up like $50 million this year. So if they were strapped last year, I don't know how they're going to be any less strapped. You lose. I know they played the whole year without Micah Hyde. Maybe Trey White is better. They really need some of their rookies to hit this year. And I think that they need to go back to reinvesting in the offensive line and shoring that situation up. And whatever it is, they need to build around a rushing game. Like, because you're playing in that, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, this is a team that looks like they should be playing in Minnesota, but they play in Buffalo in January and February. They play these games in cold weather stadiums where the footing is bad, and it just wasn't built for them to come back. Like, Josh Allen can't be your best runner. You drafted James Cook. I texted you guys early. Why aren't they running the ball with James Cook in this football game early on? And, of course, they're throwing deep balls on 3rd and 3. Terrible, terrible Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, not crushing it.
I just told you guys Josh Allen didn't look the same this year. He made a lot of mistakes, a lot of mental mistakes, and I think he took a step back with Brian Dable leaving and Ken Dorsey taking over the offensive coordinator position. I think they were just like, hey, do your thing. But they gave him too much leeway, and it ended up hurting that offense. I think it did. I think you need to reel Josh Allen in, and you need to kind of give him more direction than just letting him go out there and be a baller and go off of pure skill. So I think that hurt a little bit. And then Buffalo's playmakers at the beginning of the year fell off at the end of the year. What happened to the Gabe Davises and the Isaiah McKenzie's towards the end of the year? They disappeared. They were gone. And you were relying on Cole Beasley in a playoff game? Come on. Like after a retirement. And like Tony said, the running back position we've talked about for years with the Buffalo Bills. And we thought they finally had a rookie coming in and doing it, and they just never went back to it. And so I think Buffalo has been contingent about or been happy and complacent with what they've had the last couple of years, and they've never improved the roster because they're like, oh, we're just 1 or 2 plays away. We're 1 or 2 plays away, so we're good with what we have. No, I think finally they're going to go out there and make some moves that they need to do. And let me address this bullshit that you guys are talking about in the comments, saying me talking about playoffs or Raider fan talking about playoffs. Well, let me tell you something. You know the Raiders are still 6th best with playoff wins in the NFL, and they haven't won a damn playoff game since 2002. Where the fuck are your franchises, right? If the Raiders are giving you all these years to catch up, and we're still number 6, where the fuck are your franchises?
6th best is not a bragging point.
I was just going to say, we haven't won a playoff game in 30 years. What's wrong with your franchises?
Oh, what are you guys talking about? We're 9th right now. 9th.
I like Joe's attempt right there. I think that's good. You got because everybody, all the young people who are part of franchises that were good a long time ago, they always have nice stats to back them up.
It could be like the Chargers.
No one said anything about the Chargers. No one said anything about the Chargers.
Just saying.
I want to bring up one thing that also is problematic for the Bills. Like, it's going to be a big problem. Is that I honestly believe the Jets have made no secret they're getting a veteran quarterback, and I believe that quarterback is either going to be Jimmy G or Derek Carr. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going there. This is all just bullshit. But that's bad news for the Bills. And then on top of that, Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers is going to be in Miami next year. Like, they're going to end up with one of those two. And if they add one of those veteran quarterbacks, you had 2 veteran quarterbacks, the Jets defense, it's going to be more problems. The Miami offense with a consistent quarterback every week there that can just get the ball out to Waddle and Tyreek Hill. The Patriots bring in an actual offensive coordinator who's actually called plays for offense. Everything sets up badly for the Bills.
Well,
they
Bill
missed
O'Brien
a big opportunity this year.
Yeah,
Bill O'Brien's back. Tony's favorite guy.
The Bills should went after someone like Hassan Reddick with that mega deal over Von Miller. It's just Von's a good player when he's healthy still. You just got to understand the risk factor when you sign him to that big of a deal at this age. All right, speaking of Brian Daboll a second ago, and I just moved my helmet, switched the helmet out. Giants overall had a season where they exceeded expectations still. But in this last playoff game, the Eagles came out and stomped them. Tony, you picked the Giants. So were you surprised to see how badly the Eagles beat them?
I was more surprised to see how healthy all of the Eagles players were that were listed on injury reports. Like, that was the thing to me where it was like, well, we don't know how this is going to be. Jalen Hurts didn't look very injured. Lane Johnson didn't look very injured. And it was just a team that was clearly superior to them. So it was nice to see from them. I wanted Daniel Jones to just put up more of a fight, right? Because now the Giants are in that really awkward situation where what are they doing? And I do think they're going to keep Daniel Jones. He'll be their quarterback to start the season. But Brian Daboll has to draft the future. For his own sanity, he's going to need to draft in the first round like Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. I just think the Giants need to swing big on whichever guy he thinks he can have a year with, molding for the next quarterback of the Giants. He needs to have that plan, because I think we'll see more games like we did last Saturday from Daniel Jones than we will see more games from the previous week of Daniel Jones, where he was just cooking the Vikings. I think it's going to be more of that than super wild card weekend Daniel Jones.
Joe, fly Eagles fly?
Well, yeah, I think the Eagles showed that they're the better team, and we all knew the Giants were playing above their heads the whole season too, and we were expecting them to fall at any time. Hold on.
Meow.
Oh, Fast and Furious is in the neighborhood. I didn't know.
Meow.
This weekend at the Bakersfield Raceway.
There was a cop or something going by, and I didn't want to remind Tony of his childhood.
Whoa! All right, let's keep the talk on the Eagles and the Giants.
My wife just got mad. She just got mad at me for that. She said, "How could you talk about Tony like that?"
Keep going.
Anyway,
Keep going. It was fun. I like it. Let's go.
I was talking about the Eagles and how good the Eagles team is, and how we all thought the Giants were performing, above their heads, and we were just waiting for them to sink at one point in the season. They kept going. Now we get to see what the Giants are made of. Now we get to see what Brian Daboll and that team is going to do, because he had because of Daniel Jones. You're going to have to make the decision. I just saw that something about that he's going to make $30 million. Now Barkley's a free agent, right? Barkley played amazing this year. Finally stayed healthy. We got to see what he can do. But the big question is going to be on their defense, because they really didn't have great playmakers on their defense, but they played very, very well. And now is what's his name? Wink Martindale. Is he going to get a head coaching job somewhere? Because he's going to start interviewing places. So he might be gone. So this might have been the one time that the Giants played above their head, but they have a lot of decisions going in. But I just think the Eagles prove that they are a better team. That's all it was. We were waiting for the Giants were never that team. They were never good enough to be in the playoffs. They just showed who they really were in this game.
No, they wouldn't.
That was my thoughts. Yeah, I don't think so. That was my thoughts going into the game. A lot of people were on the Giants hype train. A lot of people were picking the Giants to upset in this game. I just really felt that once you slow down Saquon Barkley and you pair up the rest of the Eagles team versus the Giants, it was a large gap, in my opinion, to the Eagles, to the Giants. And I think that they also need to look at quarterback, especially if they're going to lose Saquon Barkley. I feel like he carried a lot of this offense. They could still have a very good rushing offense, but it's next level when you got Saquon back there. I think Saquon could be on the move just because of his price tag, and you can see a little bit of a retool here with Brian Daboll, and we're going to get to see what they can do as a roster building wise with the new GM and Brian Daboll.
I think it's more likely they get a deal done with Daniel Jones that's affordable to them, right? Because the quarterback is the higher price position, and Saquon gets a franchise tag and just doesn't report to camp, and it's ugly and all that stuff it's rough off season for them. Like I would use that to my advantage. That's why I hate the franchise tag. I just don't like it.
Especially for a position like running back. Like they should tweak the rules for each position to make it a little bit more beneficial based off the average expected lifespan in the NFL.
I've said this for like the last 10 years. The CBA needs to, the players need to get together and say, if you are drafted as a running back in this league, like you need 3 years and then they can offer you a franchise tag in year 4, but you should be able to renegotiate after 3 years.
Yeah, running back needs something.
And I think you could make everyone happy and apply similar rules to the linebacker position on the other side too. We'll see how it goes because the Roquan Smith situation, Roquan Smith had an option where he could have stayed with the franchise tag or went to free agency. All right, let's do this. Let's get into our predictions for the NFC and AFC Championship. Everyone that's still tuned in live, let us know in the chat who you guys got winning each round. And if you guys are watching the replay, you guys feel free to drop a comment. Like the video before you forget. Like the video. All right. NFC Championship picks revealed. Bada boom. Only one guy rocking with the Philadelphia Eagles, Tony and Joe. After all the 49ers hate all year, I feel like every week I come on here and I go, why you guys go with the 49ers? What the hell? Every week you hate on them. And you guys pick the Cowboys and the Niners more than anybody.
Because, Mike, you made a video that helped me and Tony go with the 49ers. There is no such thing as a jinx, remember?
Wait, when did I hate on the 49ers? I'm so confused about this.
Tony, you guys are like similar in age, so I just lump you in together. Whatever he says, you're just...
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. I definitely have some like old wounds from 49ers teams from back in the day. But like my 3 NFC teams were the Packers, Eagles, and the 49ers. And I said I'm taking Aaron Rodgers, the veteran quarterback, and the Packers defense is going to be top 5. Well, the Packers defense let me down, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't very good this year. But these two teams were next in line. I'm taking Kyle Shanahan in this football game. Like that is, to me, that's it's both defenses are great and offensive lines and everything matches up well. So then where do I look that you can get the advantage? And I think you can get time of possession on your side. I think Brock Purdy is good enough and Kyle is. We've watched Kyle Shanahan win games with 8 total passes out of Jimmy G. And I think that, yes, the Eagles defense is better than that Packers defense we saw in that game. But even if they can keep it to an efficient day where Brock Purdy is throwing quick screens, which is an extension of the running game to Debo, he's got the middle of the field where I think George Kittle is going to have an advantage on anybody, right? Like even if they're putting Kaiser White or they're bringing in a bigger nickel corner trying to double up on George Kittle, you still are going to have the middle of the field available for him to be efficient enough. Let's say he's 16 of 24 for 190 yards. But then the real X factor in this game, Elijah Mitchell is going to have like 120 all-purpose yards in this game. Like it's going to be like out of nowhere, 5th round pick from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, from some school we've never even heard of. Elijah Mitchell, wherever he's from, I should know by now, but I don't, is going to end up having the game of his life in this game and that's going to put them over the edge. I am going to take a close game, but I'm going to go like 24-20. San Francisco gets it done. Kyle Shanahan back in the Super Bowl, and this is a masterpiece for him. He's going to paint with this rookie, and Niners get it done.
And the Eagles have Jalen Hurts, a great running quarterback. They have a good two great wide receivers, AJ Brown and Smith, that could go and dominate this San Francisco defensive back. Because that's the weakness in San Francisco is their defensive backs, and they can get beat. Miles Sanders has to have one hell of a game, I think, to be able to beat the San Francisco defense. And we haven't seen a 100-yard rusher since week 1 on San Francisco. So Miles Sanders would have to be in that game to help the Eagles out. This defense of the Eagles, they've had the history on their side with 4 or 5 guys with 10 plus sacks on their defensive line. They can go after the rookie Brock Purdy. They have 2 good cornerbacks on the Eagles team. This is a built team. They're a solid team. And that's why I'm taking the 49ers, because I just think the 49ers don't have enough. I mean, the 49ers have enough to beat the Eagles this week. And we're going to see Brock Purdy ball out and be a rookie and lead his team to a championship. The 49ers, we just have to bow down and kiss their feet and just say how amazing and how they are the team to beat. The 49ers all year long. We've all known, and there's nothing that anybody can do but watch the 49ers just steamroll past everybody and win, because there's no fan base in the NFL like the San Francisco faithful 49er fans that deserve a championship and deserve to see their team go all the way, and to see a guy like Kyle Shanahan not blow any leads in the playoffs and continue to be a great coach and keep his foot on the gas pedal and win games. This is just – there's nothing more I could say about how great this San Francisco team is. Like, you go out there and you try to buy a championship and you're going to get it done. You're going to get it done, and you're going to go in there and you're going to knock off Philadelphia. San Francisco, let's go.
That was 100% hate.
We got a battle of the jinxes going on here. Joe's jinx versus Mike's jinx. We're going to see which jinx comes out on top. But, man, I think that this Eagles team is just so good. And everyone's put in the chat, the Eagles' best opponent was the Cooper Rush Cowboys. They beat the Vikings. They beat the Giants 3 times. They beat the Cowboys 2 times. That's 3 of the 7 playoff teams in the NFC. Did they play Tampa? I think they played Tampa too and beat them as well. The Eagles beat some good teams. I know that their schedule is light compared to some of these other top-tier offenses and defenses that they're going against, but they beat some teams. Don't sit here and tell me that they just walked into this position as the number 1 seed hosting the NFC Championship game.
Welcome here, famous Dr. B. He is a 49er hater. Like, this is the other thing.
I just sat here and gave a good talk about how good the 49ers are,
and picked
you guys
them.
are calling me a hater.
And picked them. But the Eagles are winning this game, guys. I feel strongly that the Eagles are going to win this game. I think they're going to win by 10, actually.
What?
Yeah, I think they're going to win by 10.
Even though the 49ers have a great team, and the 49ers, I'm picking the 49ers to win, they might have cursed themselves. I don't know if you guys seen that one 49er fan already hung a jersey or a shirt on the Rocky Balboa statue outside of Philadelphia, or in Philadelphia. But then again, you don't know if the Philadelphia PD has jinxed the Eagles, because they're over there greasing up the poles already, the stop signs and the stoplight poles and everything like that, so fans aren't jumping on them after they win. So there's a lot of jinxes going on.
Yeah, I'm not really with any of the jinx stuff. I'll say this. The San Francisco has a great opportunity to either make Jalen Hurts get a record-breaking contract this offseason, or prove to the fact that there's still some questions about his ability to throw the ball. Because I do think the 49ers are capable to sort of not fully shut down the Eagles' run game, but at least make it to where Jalen Hurts is going to have to make 5 or 6 big-time throws in this game. And I think even in that game last week, part of the reason A.J. Brown was upset was there was a couple of overthrows. So, like, you can say all the things you want that the 49ers cornerbacks are the weak link of this team. Every team has a place that you can attack. But, like, you also are then relying on Jalen Hurts to make sure that he he dimes those up, right? Because this has always been the problem with the 49ers. We say Jimmy G is good enough to get you to where you're going, but he's not good enough for you to be able to purchase what you had your eye on when you get there, right? The overthrow of Emmanuel Sanders. Last year, he missed on a couple of plays. Even in the second, 49ers had a 10-point lead or whatever in SoFi against the Rams last year. And we say Jimmy G couldn't get him there. Jalen Hurts is going to have his opportunities, and I think that will be the game plan. Let's keep the Eagles around 90 to 100 yards rushing and make Jalen Hurts make some big-time throws in this game. And if he makes them, Jalen Hurts is getting huge, huge money. But this is what's fun about it. A 10-point blowout, Mike? Really?
It's not a blowout. I think they're just going to win by 10. It's going to be a comfortable kneel-down victory for the Eagles. I just think they can beat you too many ways. And yes, the defense for the Niners is scary. The defensive line for the Niners is scary. But even when they get into the backfield, Jalen Hurts is going to be one of the best quarterbacks they've faced this season that can avoid that pass rush, that can avoid Nick Bosa, that can avoid the guys on the other side. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to extend some plays and get some big plays down the field to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. And I'm still not impressed by Brock Purdy. I think that the Eagles defense is going to give Brock Purdy some problems as well, like Dallas did last week. The Niners scored 19 points last week. They will not win if they score less than 20 points this week. I can lock that in, guarantee it, that they will probably lose by 10 if they score less than 20 points this week.
See, and I was going to say, I was trying to look at Brock Purdy's stats earlier, and okay, they're still not bad. His stats on paper aren't bad, but just watching him play, I think he hasn't been as good the last couple games. He has 14 sacks in the 8 games that he's been playing. 7 of them are in the last 3 games. So I think he's holding on to the ball a little bit more. He's making more mistakes in the last couple of games. You're starting to see the rookie in Brock Purdy come out just a little bit. And like I already brought up, in like we're all talking about the Niners defense, we're kind of forgetting how the Eagles have a pretty good defense over there themselves, and just the way that their defensive line is going and the rotation that they keep bringing. So we got to see how good Brock Purdy holds up in this game, and that's like the storyline every game with the Niners now since he's taken over. It's like, okay, what is Brock Purdy going to do? What is Brock Purdy going to do? Because eventually, just like the Giants team, we always thought the New York Giants were going to fall at one time. We're waiting for the Brock Purdy fall, and this might be that game. But I'm taking the 49ers because I like the 49ers, and I think they're the better team, and they're going to win this game.
Yeah, and that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about Brock Purdy coming out of this game with 2 interceptions. And I think that that Brock Purdy has been phenomenal for a 7th-round pick, taking over a team in the middle of the season. But he hasn't shown the ability to elevate, and I think that he's going to need to elevate in this game. The Eagles are no joke. The Eagles also they might not have as ferocious of a pass rush. I think they have more depth on pass rush than the Cowboys. So you're going to see fresh bodies coming at them the entire game. And the most important thing, I saw at least 5 plays that there should have probably been interceptions thrown by Brock Purdy's in that Cowboys game. But they just did not have the playmakers. The Eagles have a playmaker at every spot in their secondary that will make him pay if he makes even 1 mistake, let alone 5.
Yeah, Diggs dropped one. It hit his hand and he dropped it.
Yeah, he led the league last year in picks, and then this year, big moment, he drops it. But I don't like this. Like, well, you can always predict the fall off from somebody. Eventually, you're going to be right. I've been doing this to Tom Brady for a decade, predicting the demise of this man, and now it's like you don't get to celebrate 8 games in that eventually a rookie's going to get caught. I was watching Greg Cosell, somebody who I love, take breakdown from, and he does point out the fact that Brock has been showing when he feels pressure, he spins back and goes to the left. Yeah, you're going to do that because to the left, you got Trent Williams on whatever side. I'd be running behind that mountain too for like a little bit. Also, this sack number that you bring up, taking a sack is way better than throwing an interception, which is the alternative of panicking. Like, you can live to play another day. Like, you don't want to take sacks on, third where you push out a field goal range. There are bad sacks to be taken. But some sacks is like a sign of maturity that you're not just chucking it up. And all of the throws, like we always talk about this, like they're going to look easier in Kyle Shanahan's offense. He's just really good at finding ways to get receivers in situations where they're like 5-6 yards of separation. Like Julio Jones and Matt Ryan were unstoppable. And Matt Ryan without Kyle Shanahan, not as good. With an MVP, Brock Purdy's going to be fine in this offense. Like he might have a couple turnovers in this game, but
it's over then.
Brock Purdy
if he has 2 turnovers, it's over. If he has 2 turnovers, it's over.
Is the Eagles defense number 1 in scoring this year?
Turnovers?
I believe so.
I think the Eagles are, yeah. And the Eagles have the number 1 scoring offense as well.
But here's the thing, too. Like, Brock Purdy in a couple of these last games has benefited a lot. Like Tony said, he rolls out to the left, and we've seen that since the Raider game that they forced him out that way. So once you get out there, he's also made a bad habit, and he's got away with it, but he's made a couple bad habits of throwing across the field. And every time he's been lucky enough to get it and hit it just because he has a great tight end in George Kittle that goes out there and fights for the ball. But I know Tony said don't wait for the demise of it, but when that one gets picked and goes to the house, we're going to be like, oh, shit, we knew that was coming one day.
I don't know why. Now I have to, like, stand on this mountain that Brock Purdy is amazing. I'm not saying that this guy is, like –
no, you just compared him to Tom Brady.
You did, yeah. And you say he's got 2 turnovers but somehow win against the best team in the NFC.
Where did you hear a Tom Brady comparison using – no, I'm talking about predicting the demise of people. Okay, I won't do it. Let's pick the demise of anybody else. Any other person that is doing something, he's doing something that is sensational. We can all agree on that, correct? So what do we do? We do that to any person who's doing something sensational. You can't be like, oh, well, I've been predicting the demise of Eli Apple. He's never done anything sensational. So you can't predict that this, and it has to be compared to the LeBrons, to Tom Brady's, to who's ever doing something spectacular. People just root for it to end. Eventually, you're going to be right. Like, I want to know why you think it's going to end.
I just explained the whole thing. Like, the Eagles have a great secondary and a deep pass rush. But also, I never predicted the demise of Brock Purdy. I picked the Niners to get here.
Yeah, and if jinxes were real, I would be going for the Eagles right now.
There ain't no one here predicting the demise of Brock Purdy. We just think he's going to lose the NFC Championship game against the best team in the NFC this year.
And we already printed out newspapers that say Tony says that Brock Purdy is the next Tom Brady. We already put it out there.
Here's what's going to be on the newspapers tomorrow, Tony. Jinxes aren't real. NFL Mike's right again. That's what it's going to say. Anyways, let's go to the AFC. That's going to be a good game, though. They're two similar teams.
It should be. And it's the first game of the day, so it should be get you pumped up for this game in Burrowhead.
In Burrowhead, yeah, that's what they're saying. And Tony's saying that it's not Burrowhead.
No,
it's not Burrowhead.
It's not. It's never been. They won here one time.
Okay, disclaimer before Tony starts talking. Tony is a Joe Burrow hater. Just putting that out there. Go ahead, Tony.
We just throw accusations at Tony all live.
I know. I love how I will say that Joe, there is some merit to what Joe is saying. Like, it does drive me nuts that Joe Burrow could be in his second Super Bowl in 3 seasons, and Herbert lost a 27-point lead in the first round of the playoffs this year. It does eat at my skin. And I'll tell you what will make this even worse is if I'm completely wrong this weekend and Jalen Hurts, who was also drafted in that, and Joe Burrow are in the Super Bowl for a full week, and then Herbert's name just keeps getting kicked through the mud from that draft class, I'm going to fucking lose my mind for 2 weeks. Guaranteed that happens. But I'll be happy for him. Great young man. Hope they go on to tremendous success. I'm just saying, in the short term, it does get me a little fired up.
I hope you go 0-17, but rooting for your success.
I've been saying the Bengals have been the best team in football all year, but I will say this. Bart, I didn't go on this with the Eagles. I don't like it. I think there's a fine line between being extremely confident in who you are and what you are, and just starting to feel yourself a little too much and talk a little too much shit. I think the Eagles have started to show a little bit of that with even from the head coach, Nick Sirianni, staring down cameras. I don't want to get into it. But with the Bengals, it's a little bit more blatant, like how much shit they're talking. They're in a week, they're talking shit to the Buffalo Bills. They're talking shit to them. We're this, we're beating on our chest. Get out of here with this nonsense, Joe. You're about to be shunned from the screen. Putting this.
Wait. You have that saved to your phone?
It's his
I just found
screen
it. I just Googled it.
saver.
Okay, Tony, I know what you're talking about because people are talking about Nick Sirianni and the way he's been acting on the sideline, and I'm with you with the Bengals. I think the Bengals have fucking talked way too much this week. I think they're out there. Eli Apple's calling people out on Twitter. Like, that's the last person that should be calling anybody out on Twitter is Eli Apple. But this whole team, the Burrowhead, started with Burrowhead. This is not the team you want to poke. This is not the team that you want to come after and talk a bunch of shit to. The Kansas City Chiefs, they're already giving you the advantage with Patrick Mahomes' ankle injury. And then you're out here just running your goddamn mouth like you're the next best thing. Like, you didn't win the Super Bowl last year. You lost it. You lost the Super Bowl last year. If you were defending Super Bowl champs, maybe that's different. But you're coming out here and you're running your mouth against a team that, your franchise didn't win a playoff game on the road for 7. You were 0-7 before Joe Burrow showed up. Now you're 4-0 with Joe Burrow, and you're winning these playoff games. But Joe Burrow is not gonna. You're gonna talk all this shit. And what happens to teams that talk a bunch of shit? They usually get their ass whooped. And you're playing a top team like the Kansas City Chiefs. I think you're playing with fire, even though I'm taking the Bengals.
Yeah, you might say that you would get jinxed unless I brought in a more powerful jinx. It would not be an MJT Pick'ems video, one of the last 2 of the year, if I didn't switch my pick. So I'm switching my pick to the Chiefs officially because of all the shit the Bengals are talking. So either they jinx themselves and the Chiefs are going to win and I get a win, or I just pick change jinx the Chiefs and I'm still happy regardless.
This is crazy. No such thing as jinxes. This is when you start feeling yourself too much and you keep bringing up past accomplishments as if those are going to help you in this moment. They do to a certain extent. I'm not real big on bulletin board material. All the players on both sides really want to win. They're really well coached and really competitive. And I do think this is another close game. In all the years I've watched football, I have never seen so much talent in 2 games that I am anticipating more. And I didn't feel strongly with either of my picks, but in the end, again, for coaching for me, right? Everybody keeps talking about the Patrick Mahomes injury and how that could hobble him or do whatever. But like Andy Reid has a whole week to prepare for this. And I think that this could be a big game for Juju, right? The middle of the field, all of the things that they could be planning for, the way they scheme open Travis Kelce. Juju's essentially another tight end who doesn't block either on the other side. So all of the things that they're doing, if you're using that and you're able to get Juju in one-on-one matchups, you're able to use Kadarius Toney in new ways that we haven't been able to see it. And at some point in this game, somebody's going to catch Eli Apple for a big double move. They're going to have MVS or Sky Moore. One of them is going to make a big play downfield where Patrick Mahomes is in the shotgun. It's going to look like a sluggo, right? Just a quick slant. Fuck it. See ya, Apple. And they're going to make a big play downfield for 6 points in this game. Another close one for me, 26-24 Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes goes back to the Super Bowl again. And honestly, I think Patrick Mahomes is the last person I want to see in the Super Bowl. So if the Bengals win and I'm wrong, good for them.
Me too. I have a similar attitude, Tony. But yeah, I think that the Chiefs should just come out in the first play and just scheme it up to block everyone, get a body on everyone, maybe a sweep to the left or right, depending on which side Eli Apple's on, and set it up to where Isaiah Pacheco and Eli Apple go one-on-one, and let's see who wins that one, Eli. Let's see who comes out on top of that one.
And people make it seem like the Chiefs have blown or the Bengals have blown the Chiefs out of the water every time they play. Like the Bengals are so good, they've been blowing them out. No, the Bengals actually in all the wins have had to come back in these wins. It's just the Chiefs need to hold on to their lead. Like I think in the last game, they had a good lead, and then the Bengals scored the last 10 points of the game to win. So they need to hold on to it, and if the Chiefs can hold on, and you're giving Andy Reid all this time to get ready for you, Andy Reid's he's gonna have something different for you, and they might run that merry-go-round play or shit again and get you going. But they're gonna find a way to keep Patrick Mahomes. Like he's favoring that ankle, and you know that ankle hurts, but it don't matter. They can bring Chad Henne back in, and he's gonna score some touchdowns. They got Andy Reid is too good of a coach to not let his team fall down, but they're gonna be talking. The Bengals are talking all that shit. I can't believe it. It's just still on my nerves right now, and I kind of want to switch, but I'm not.
Switch over, Joe. Switch over, because I think that the Bengals, in all seriousness, they need to come out and dominate this game, because I do think that they're the better and hotter team still than KC, but they got to come out and dominate this game like they did the Bills last week, and that's easier said than done against Kansas City Chiefs. The ball, like you said, has bounced their way in close games 3-4 times now in a row. I don't know if it's going to keep happening. And you don't realize in football, those close one-possession games, a lot of those games come down to 1 or 2 plays where they just barely missed it. They just barely needed a second longer down the field to get Travis Kelce open. And eventually it's going to happen. And it'll probably happen in this game, I think, if it's close at the end. Switch, Joe.
So
I'm not going to switch.
At the beginning of the year, I posed something that pissed Mike off, right? Which was, he was like, Mike, and maybe Mike was just being a hater, but the thing was, is how could Patrick Mahomes get better without Tyreek Hill, right? And we've already seen somebody who's as talented as Patrick Mahomes when you can actually get better when you lose your best player. And I won't go back in the history of these people, but like that forces you to become a better quarterback. That forces you to be able to deal with situations like this. It's not just all like a circus, freak show, and fun. That's what can make Patrick Mahomes extraordinary. But I do think that he is still maybe not on the same level as Burrow with an ankle injury, but he's right there. And then, like, what they're able to do in the offseason by getting rid of Tyreek Hill, one of these rookies is going to step up and play a big factor. Whether it's McDuffie making a great play in one-on-one coverage where he's out there getting big Joshua Williams late in the draft, they force these guys to play so that they could have as much experience as possible for moments like this. Getting George Karlaftis in there to be able to make that play, or Sky Moore making the big play. Like one of these rookies that is basically who they recouped and moving on from Tyreek Hill, they've been preparing for this moment and putting out all these young players. And that's why the rebuild that the Chiefs did is so impressive. Well, everybody else went, we're going to bring in this guy and that guy and whatever. They said, we're going to trade a Hall of Famer and start retooling on the fly while we can. And that's why I hate the Chiefs. And I hope they lose, but the Chiefs are going to win.
Yeah, screw you, Andy Reid. Screw you, everyone in that business. I ran into the owner, Hunt, at the Hall of Fame, and I didn't know what to say to him. I was just like, "Hi, I hate you."
Who did you run into?
The owner of the Chiefs at the Hall of Fame. He was just sitting there admiring one of the displays. I was like, "Rose, that's the owner of the Chiefs," and she's like, "You should go say hi." So I go to him and I say hi, and like in my mind, I'm just like, I can't say anything because my mind is just filled with hate and just memories of the Chiefs sitting the Chargers down.
Probably, like, if I were him, I would have handed you a 20 and been like, I know I'm a little late on my child support, but you know.
Oh, no.
I would have handed you a 20 and been like, here's some back child support I owe you, because we done your daddy for like 2 decades.
That's what the mayor of Cincinnati said, that Joe Burrow is Patrick Mahomes' daddy. He said you get a paternity test.
I'm
mayor of the city. He is jinxing the team. If jinxes do exist. I don't think they do.
Yeah, it's a weird situation where, like, I wonder how much shit would have been talked if all of the social media would have been readily available when, like, Cowboys, Niners were, because those are some of the best NFC Championship games that I ever watched. I just remember sitting there being like instantly entertained, because you're going back on one side, you got Aikman and Irvin and Emmett and a great offensive line and Jay Novacek, like you just have all these, and then you go to the other side, and on the defensive side, you got Sanders and Haley and Nortons and like all these great players. Everywhere there's great players, and that's the same thing, but it's 4 teams. We're watching 2 games of just like either current Hall of Fame, potential Hall of Fame, like the talent this weekend. It's insane. Like I think that all 4 of these teams have a decent shot. We could be looking at this as the next year's Final Four. Like, when is it ever repeated back-to-back years? That's how loaded and prepared these teams are for this weekend, but not just this weekend, moving forward. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, well, Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, minus their rookie years, have been in the AFC Championship games every year of their career.
Yeah, and 3 of the 4 teams that played in the championship games last year, ironically, the one that won the Super Bowl is the only one not back.
And you have the Eagles and the Niners with loaded defenses with quarterbacks on rookie contracts. Like, this easily could be the repeat Final Four next year, and I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not going to bet it, but I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Yeah, and these teams have shown that they're willing to keep making the moves to maintain as well. All right, well, here's our AFC Championship picks. Here's our NFC Championship picks. Again, let us know who you guys got in the comment section below or in the live chat if you guys are still tuned in. Anything else to add, guys, before I sign us off?
We need to come back to the show next week because I do want to talk about the Frank Reich hire for Harrison. I want to talk about some of this Aaron Rodgers news. Tom Brady.
There's a lot of rumors. We need one of those hot topic shows.
Yeah, I want to talk about Nathaniel Hackett to the Jets and all the hate that's getting on the internet. There's a lot of things I want to talk about.
I saw something awesome about Nathaniel Hackett today, Tony.
You saw what?
I saw an awesome thing about Nathaniel Hackett today. It was one of those fake quotes that said that he told the Jets that he sends Christmas cards to Aaron Rodgers, and they were like, "Welcome to the team. You're on." But I forgot to tell him that he doesn't send one back to me, and that every time I send it out, it comes back returned to sender.
Wow.
Nate Hackett has taken some smoke, and I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it at all.
Yeah, well, the same thing happened in Denver. He went there just to get Rodgers to come, and then Rodgers said, "I'm gonna stay." Actually,
but even if he didn't, all right, we'll do Nate Hackett real quick. Even if Nathaniel Hackett was brought in there to bring Aaron Rodgers, still the natural progression for Russell Wilson was to have a coordinator like Nathaniel Hackett. Like, it should have been what he should be doing. Because if Russell Wilson thinks that he is going to just rely on athletic ability, we've seen bigger, stronger quarterbacks go down sooner in their careers than what Russell is doing. Joe was 1,000% correct when he called this the worst trade in NFL. Like, Joe went right away and said, "I don't know why everybody loves Russ to the Broncos." And I was like, come on, it's Russ. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. The cliff started to fall. It started to fall in Seattle, and the same thing is going to happen. He's not going to get more athletic at 34. He's not going to be able to play 17 games and be wheeling and dealing. He needed to develop in the areas where Hackett was a strength, and Hackett going whoever goes there, whether it's Carr, Jimmy G, Rodgers, Hackett's going to be able to be just fine with those quarterbacks for the Jets. Yeah. He's going to look better with the Jets and that defense, and Russ is going to continue to plateau and play behind, hopefully, not DeMeco Ryans' defense. I don't know who the Broncos are going to get, but I hope it's not DeMeco Ryans. Like, I want them to get any of these other available coaches. Not ruin Shane Steichen's career.
So the only thing I heard from there, Mike, is I have no bad takes.
From the entire chat?
You are filled with terrible takes. Horrible. But you were the first person that I remember talking about how terrible that trade was. And I was like, it's not a terrible trade. Like, Russell Wilson still got it. I don't think he does. Not for 17 games, maybe for a couple of weeks here and there. But that style it doesn't age well. You have to move on to the next phase, and that's being able to be more efficient from the pocket. And every week somebody was showing Hamler's wide open on this play. Judy's wide open on this play. Sutton's wide open and he's taking a sack or throwing an inexplicable interception, right? Or not audibling to a run that is clearly built into that play that would have hit for 20 yards. It's like, I don't know. I just don't. Nate Hackett is getting the blame for Russell Wilson. I don't like it.
Me too. It's tonight, guys. It's tonight.
I was going to tell you. I was going to ask you if you're going to watch it tonight. The Royal Rumble. If you guys have no football tonight, the Royal Rumble is always a great event. Remember, this is when they start the road to WrestleMania and all that stuff in Hollywood, in SoFi Stadium. 2-day event. I know Tony's not a big wrestling fan, but the Royal Rumble is always. This is like the one I always have to watch. I don't have to watch wrestling all year, but the Royal Rumble is what you got to watch.
Sammy. Yeah, that was me during the entire Broncos talk, Tony. So we're in the same boat here. I don't want to talk about the Broncos as much as you don't want to talk about wrestling. All right, we're going to get out of here, y'all. for MGT Football. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and good luck if your team is playing this weekend. Honestly, it could go any way. Or it could go the Eagles' way.
I'm not jinxing the Niners, for sure. I like the Niners, not jinxing them at all.